Hello, good morning guys. Welcome to another episode of XAH Talk Show. Today we are going to do emacs Lisp, nothing but emacs Lisp, heavy coding. So coding for 1 hour. And so if you want to learn emacs Lisp, join, and ask me questions, ask me pertinent questions about emacs Lisp. Okay. Emacs Lisp coding. So we're gonna, no nonsense today. We're gonna start right away. So here is today's topic, and today is 2022, January 20th. Okay, so here are the things we're gonna code. The first thing is that we are going to write a function that adds a comma. Okay, 16, magnify the font and turn on global highline mode so you can see where is my cursor, and then on the pink window is all my keystrokes, such as moving cursor. You can see the keystrokes there, and you can also see the command name. Okay, I'm using a Vorak keyboard. This is Kinesis Advantage 2, and this is Ultimate Hacking. I recommend them. And you can find them on xah-add keyboard blog. Just search for it. And I'm using Vorak keyboard, Vorak layout, and the xah flag keys. Okay, so here is the source code for xah flag keys, and you can see the URL here. Okay, xah flag keys, a key binding system for Emacs. Fantastic. Okay, now let's begin. Okay, let's enough with ado. So I'm going to write a command. This command. Okay, so let's begin it. Start a emacs Lisp code. Okay, I'm gonna write this command and make it into a buffer. Okay, beginning to write this command. Why do you want to comma space something, comma space? That space is extra typing. So it would be nice if you just press a key and it automatically adds one space to each comma and remove redundant ones. So that is what the command do. So define. Okay, I'm using xah emacs Lisp mod. Okay, my packages, if you like my stuff, xah flag keys is free. You can download on GitHub. It's no longer on Mailpath, but on GitHub. And you can download, you can buy my packages. They are open source. So xah emacs Lisp mod. So define, so D for define, press space, expanded nice. So we are going to write, this is the command name. And documentation, add a comma, add a space after comma of current block of code or selection. If you have a selection, you'll work on selection. If there's no selection, you'll work on current block of code. Block of code meaning a paragraph, basically separated by empty lines. Okay, so we're gonna write. So here's a template, and let's see. Hello guys. Hello, Toby. Sounds good. Nice hat. I bought this 2 years ago from a thrifty store. Hello, Louis Spohr from Scandinavia, Northern Europe, I think. And okay, let's begin. So emacs Lisp. Okay, so add a comma. So we're gonna add a comma, add a space after comma. So begin with search for word, search for comma, and so what we need to do is basically find and replace. Find a comma, replaced by comma space. So how do you do that? That's an idiom. So you go to search for xah emacs Lisp, practical emacs Lisp. So my website, practical emacs Lisp, and you want the idiom for find and replace. So emacs Lisp basics, and go down. There is a writing a command. Okay, find replace text. So at this point, we can actually just copy the code. Okay, so here's a full tutorial about how to do find replace. So let's copy it. Saves typing, saves typing, and so paste it here and remove this let. Okay, make it prettify, then start code. So first of all, let is a local variable block. Local variables. This is how you do local variables in Lisp. So here is your variables. So we have case fault search nil. So that means we don't care about case fault because comma, there's no capital case. So delete that. Case fault search is a built-in global variable. So if it's true, that means case sensitive. If it's nil, false, that means doesn't matter which case, do search for that. So since it's a comma, we don't care about case fault search. So delete that. So empty let. Okay, so go to char, go to the beginning of buffer. Okay, anyway, the heart of the code is this one. Okay, while search for word, comma. Okay, let's describe function, look up the documentation for search for word. Let's look at what are the optional parameters. So search for word string bound no arrow count. Okay, so search for word string bound nil no arrow true. That's what we want. Okay, then once you do search for word, Emacs will put the found string, the beginning position, end position, a bunch of data, the found string and their position into a global variable called match data. Okay, behind the scenes. So you don't see the code here, but it's behind the scenes. Once you find it, it will store the found string and so on in a global variable called metadata. And there are many functions to extract those information. So once you find it, so this search for word returns true or false. True if it found it. Okay, so while we found the comma, then we call replace match. What that means, it will just replace the found string in the metadata. Remember, it's behind the scenes. So it will simply replace those found string positions by comma space. Okay, simple, so simple. So the second part we don't need anymore. Just repeat. If you want to find replace again, you go to char, move the cursor to a position. Then now you have to give a position. Point mean, typically point mean is the beginning of the buffer. Usually, beginning of the buffer is 1. Point min is 1. Okay, the buffer position, beginning position is 1. How do you know? You can call describe char. For example, let's call describe char, and you can see. You see, we just call describe char, and that will tell you. And here, Emacs pops up a result. You can see position 1 of 277. That means in this buffer there are 277 characters, and your cursor is at the position 1. So cursor position begin with 1, not 0. Okay. So anyway, so let's go back here. So yeah, typically you go to char, move the cursor to a position, and point mean. So why don't you say just 1 instead of point mean? Because sometimes you have narrow to buffer. For example, select that narrow to buffer. So in this case, that position, that when you have narrow to buffer, which means hide the rest of it. When you want to focus on this paragraph or whatever function. So when this happens, you don't, that beginning position is no longer 1. So that is why. Now let's widen. Okay, so widen back to so that is why you want to typically you put it here. Point, go to move the cursor point me. Okay. So anyway, the heart of the code is simply just this line. Okay, fine. So we are almost done. Almost. Okay. Now clean the code. Okay. Now save it. Now okay, now remember this command, add a space after comma of current block or selection. So first of all, you want to know if there's a selection. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, if there's a selection, how do you know? You call the command region active p wrap. Okay, region active p. Okay, that is the syntax. So this returns true or false. Region active means there's a selection, like that selection. Okay, region active. So if it's active, then you want to assign the beginning of the region position and end of the region position to a variable. So let's define some variable. P1, P2. That's position 1, position 2. Okay, so if region is active, then set P1 region beginning RB, expand. Fantastic. Okay, and P2 region end RE, expand. So now prettify the code. So that means, you set the positions P1 and P2. That's the position you want to begin with and end with. That if region is active. Now what if the region is not active? Well, if it's not active, you want it to work on the current block of code. This is extremely convenient. So if it's not active, you want to find the current block. So how is the block defined? Block is defined by empty lines. So for example, this is one block, this is one block, this is one block, this is one block. So so you want to beginning and end position of block. So you have to write that. Okay, so let's write it. Okay, let's not write it because we have a lot to do. So you can find the code example to find the beginning block of end block at here. You see, this code, this page, emacs lisp get text block. This function will return the beginning position and end position of the in other words, current paragraph. Okay, when there's no selection. This is super convenient because you don't want to always, when you want to call some command, just work on the current line or current block or current buffer. You don't want to have to make the user make a selection first. If they want to make a selection like specific part of the buffer, they can. Then the command will work on the selection. Otherwise, make it automatic. So get text block position. This is the code. Okay. But in our case, I have a package that just does that. Okay, so let's just call. Actually, let's just copy the code here. So so instead of calling a package, so it's more clear for the tutorial. So let me clean up here. So the part we want is basically, okay, we don't want that there. Okay, clean the code. So this block of code will set P1 to the beginning of the paragraph and P2 to the end of paragraph. How does it work? Well, it works by search backward. Search for any number of 2 empty lines, and also optionally if there's a tab and space in between. So any number of 2 empty lines, meaning it's like 2 empty lines, beginning of paragraph. So you search for that and also move the cursor. Then you so you search backward. So let me show you how the code works. So search backward, that means you move the cursor. The cursor will be somewhere here. So if your cursor is here, for example, anywhere here, when you call this, it'll search, back 2 empty lines. So the cursor will end up there. But what you really want is the beginning of the paragraph. What you want is the cursor to be here. So that's why you have to then search forward again. That's kind of Actually, this is inefficient code. Actually, you can just say match data, search backward, match data. Yeah, this can be improved. But anyway, let's forget about it. So then you set the point. So P1 is a variable with a $sign. Now in emacs Lisp, you don't need a $sign, but typically I add them so that if you have syntax coloring, if you use xah emacs Lisp mod, they become bold, and so the local variables becomes more obvious, easy to see. So P1, P2, so let's add the $sign here. Wait, oops. Add the $sign here and add, okay. So in summary, if there's a selection, then the beginning and end is a region beginning, region end. If there's no selection, then you have to do work to find the paragraph beginning and paragraph end. So this is how you do it. Okay, so we got our P1 and P2. That's a position we want the find replace to work on. Okay, now once we got those positions, now what we do is narrow to buffer, narrow to region, narrow to region. Okay, this is another emacs Lisp idiom. If you call emacs Lisp text processing, which is very convenient, it's the most basic common need. If you code any emacs Lisp text processing, if you are a coder or a emacs Lisp user, typically you want to transform, your code to text processing. So this is an idiom. So you narrow to region P1 and P2, that's this line, but you also want to call save restriction. Why? Because when you narrow to region, for example, let's narrow to region. Select that, narrow to region. Once your function is done, you want to return. You want to widen, because otherwise, when user calls your function, then they just see a part of the buffer. They thought, oh God, this function deleted my my code. So you want to return the previous state. So that's the save restriction. Okay. And now you just put the code here. Prettify. Okay, let's show the whole code. Let's clean up so we don't. Okay, so now you do the find and replace. Okay, and here you need to go to char, move the cursor to point min. So that's what we talked about before. You want to start at beginning of the region. Okay, so narrow to region P1, P2. Start it. Move the cursor to the beginning, then start the search. Then do the replacement. Okay, that's it. Okay, so that's it. Now evaluate the whole buffer. So what you call is in my case I call xah run current file. That's one of the command in xah keys, which also runs JavaScript, Perl, Python, PHP. Lot supports many languages. But if you are not using xah keys, you can call eval region, same thing. Okay, so that's so we already evaluated this code. Now copy this command name. Now open a new buffer, something. Okay, now let's try it. Something. Okay, wait, let's try it. A, B, C. Magnify, see the full glory. Now, okay, let's now let's call the command. Call it, paste, xah-add-space. You can see in the mini buffer, xah-add-space-after-comma. Let's see if it works. Please do it. Oh, fantastic. 10 minutes emacs Lisp saves you 1 hour. saves you 1 hour in a lifetime, something like that. Okay, so next time, so now you have hand pen like me, repetitive strain injury, typing too much here, right here. So now you can A.B, C. You don't have to type the space anymore. Okay. Now let's improve this, okay, let's try something else. Let's try copy that. Let's try x comma y comma z. Okay, let's delete this. Okay, now remember it automatically works on the paragraph. So let's try it. Do it here. Okay, good. You don't have to make any selection. Now, but if we have a selection, just that, call it, fantastic. It just works on the selection. So that command is basically done. But we need enhancement. We need feature-rich commands. That's not enough. Let me read the comments. Okay, anything you guys have. Why not add in a comma as you type? Why not add in a space after comma as you type? Well, that's not a bad suggestion. But however, there's technicalities, like how do you implement that? First of all, you cannot do that with abbrev, because Emacs abbrev only works on characters, only works on English alphabet. It doesn't work on comma. In fact, comma is a signal to expand abbrev. You know what I mean? For example, by the way, space, it becomes by the way. So BTW is a abbrev. When you type comma acts as a signifier to Emacs Lisp. It expanded. So we might be thinking, okay, why don't you make a abbrev of comma and make it, let's show space, okay, make it expand to comma space. Well, yeah, you can do that, but you cannot use the abbrev mechanism, because the way abbrev mechanism only works on letters, and this is written in C code, so you cannot customize it. Okay, I have an article on that. Just search for xah-add emacs abbrev, this article somewhere. Okay, so how do you implement real-time, comma space? You cannot do that with abbrev. So what's other ways? Well, you can do that, but trust me, okay, it gets complex. Trust me, the best way is probably just a function like what we did today. So the other way is, like, for example, you can add a hook. You can add a hook to the insert character. Let's see if there's an insert character hook. Control U, Control H A, then type for hook. That will list all hooks in Emacs. Then you just search for insert. So Emacs has few hundred hooks. I mean, there's one hook where every time you type a character, then it will call a function. So what your function will need to do is to check if the previous character is comma or not. If it is, add a space. Otherwise, don't. But that's not good, because then this function gets called every time you type something. It's So I would say the best way is just what we did. Okay. So these are kind of experience you have to pick up with the technology, because in theory, why don't you just add a space as you type? Well, that's good, but to implement that is a bit complex as far as I know. So there's additions. Okay, so now we have a function. So what happens is that, let's see, for example, let's copy this text. Okay, so we're gonna this, so here is a text. Okay, okay, so let's say here's a text. Okay, let's add more comma here. Okay, there's only 2 commas. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove. Okay, so search and replace. Search for comma space, replaced by comma. Okay, 1, 2, 3 commas there. So you see, So typically when we work with text, okay, let's turn off global highlight mod, okay. So when you write a lot of blogs or tutorials or your blogs or your articles, if you're a journalist or whatever, you write lots of, or notes, notes to yourself. So you call the command xah-add-space-after-comma. Do it, it does it. But sometimes you have code inside here. So sometimes you have some x equals to, let's magnify, x equals to x, let's see, 3, let's say this, okay, 3 comma 4 comma 5. You are writing notes, learning a programming language or something. So sometimes you have code inside it. So if you call the add a comma, to your thing, it also changes your code. In this case, it's an array. Typically, it doesn't matter if you have a space after comma or not. But some programming languages, comma has different meanings. You don't want that. You don't want it to change, part of the text, code. So it would be nice when you call this command, it will actually highlight all the changes it made. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so let's do that. Highlight the changes it made. Okay, so how do you do that? Okay, so we're gonna add. So we want highlight changes made. Okay, so you can, at a glance, you can like double check if it changes something you don't want. And highlight changes it made. Okay, something like that. Version, today's date. Okay, so highlight changes made. Okay, any comments and questions? No. Okay, so highlight changes made. So you want to find, so basically what you're gonna do is you want to find the beginning position and the position of every change. For each change, you find the beginning and end position. Then you tell Emacs to highlight those positions. Okay, so what you do is, here is there's a tutorial. You go to Emacs Lisp, write a major mod. Okay. Then you go to, so all these articles are tutorials about how to write a major mod. Then you go to, one of them is overlay highlighting. Click it. This is how you highlight a region, okay, like temporarily. So let's copy the code. Copy. Back to Emacs, paste the code here. So you can see we have two functions, but the essence is just this line. Okay, the essence is just this line. Okay, so cut that and paste it here, and we don't need that anymore. Okay, so that's the essence. Okay, prettify the code. So overlay put, let's see. Okay, so prettify the code. Overlay put. So overlay is kind of a, okay, let me explain. So what we are going to do is make it highlight. Now Emacs has two mechanisms to do the highlighting. One is by text properties. So in Emacs, any text in a buffer, you can add properties to it called text properties. So you see this buffer, you can see pink, you can see purple, you can see green, you can see blue. They have a meaning, okay? Pink, purple means it's a anyway, I'm not going to explain that. This is a xah fly keys, xah Emacs Lisp mod. Anyway, you see they are colored. The way they are colored is via the mechanism of text properties. So in this region, in any of the color region, you can look for text properties. So text properties is just something added to that region of text that tells Emacs this region must be blue, this region must be green, this region must be bold and green with red backgrounds, things like that. So that's text properties. You can see there. Okay, this article explains what is text property and how do you add it or change it or remove it. Text properties. So that's one mechanism of how Emacs can do coloring. That's one of the way. The other way is what we are doing, overlay highlight. Okay, overlay. So overlay is not text properties. Overlay is actually just tells Emacs there is this movable region that any text happens to be in this region will be highlighted in such and such way. That's called overlay. So imagine it's like overlay. It's like just like overlay. It can move around. You can say overlay the next 10 characters starting at position X. So then any buffer changes, anything comes within that position, it'll be highlighted. So that's the overlay mechanism. So two mechanisms, text properties and overlay for coloring things. So in this case, we want to use overlay. So what's the difference? Well, I explain here. Okay, so you can see, just go read my tutorial. Basically, text properties is more efficient and generally for permanent coloring, such as syntax coloring of a programming language. The color moves with the text. It's attached to the text. Meanwhile, the overlay is kind of temporary highlight. For example, you have a document, you want to highlight all occurrences of certain word. In that case, usually you want to use overlay. Okay, so anyway, in our case, we want to use overlay. Okay, so overlay, so make an overlay. Begin end. So begin end position will be, okay, so we need a beginning and end position. So that will be match beginning. Okay, MB for match beginning. Exactly. So this tells Emacs to this returns the beginning position of the match, which is the metadata that came from the search forward. Okay, so match beginning and match end. Okay, 0 means the whole regular expression, whatever we searched. Okay, so beginning end, we got that. Okay, so shrink a little bit. And face bold. Okay, so we don't want face bold. We want red. So color red. So how do you color red? So you look at text properties, a brief template, create key map, keyword completion, write your own comment command, define face. There it is. You want the face. Face is Emacs jargon for a set of coloring, such as font size, font color, background color, font, which font, that's a face. So there are built-in face. So let's look at built-in face red. So these are the built-in face. Okay. Let's use highlight. Okay. So highlight. So instead of bold, we say highlight. Okay. So I think that's it. So and set mark active. No. Okay. That is our code. Now eval region again. Now go back here. Turn off global highlight mod. Okay. Now let's make the comma. Okay. So let's remove the space after comma. Now we are going to call our command. Let's call it xah-add-space-after-comma. Do it. Fantastic. But however, there's error. So you see it added, it highlighted, you see it highlighted the last comma, but it didn't highlight the previous one. Undo, do it again. You see it didn't highlight the previous one, so we need to fix it. Oh yeah, we need to put this inside the loop. You see that that's a while loop. You need to put it inside the loop, of course. Cut that, put it inside the loop. Okay, and also match n plus 1 because there's a space. So let me show you this. inc for 1 plus, okay, match end, position of the end plus 1, okay. Okay, now the indentation is, let's do it like that way, okay. So make overlay match beginning and 1 plus match end, okay. Eval the code, switch to this buffer, undo, so you can see all the comma is like that. Or the comma doesn't have a space, okay. Call out command, do it. Fantastic. Okay, this is an error. So actually the add 1 is a mistake. So we don't want to add 1. Why? Because, oh yeah, so I guess when you call replace match, it also changes the data about match. Okay, eval buffer, go back here. Let's redo this. Let's make some other. Okay, close that. Don't save. New buffer, paste, magnify, make it. Well, okay. So replace comma space by comma. Do it. Okay, just 2. Okay, now call out command. Do it. Fantastic, success. Okay, that's it. That's it for that function. Is it good, guys? This will add comma regardless if space exists or not. That's true. Wait, that's a good point. Fantastic, thank you. So we need to again fix our code because when you do it again, it adds extra comma. You see, that's no good. You want to make sure that there is only 1 space after comma, because sometimes you make mistakes. You don't want, like sometimes you type the space. So okay, so here all we have to do is change the search forward. So let me show you. Okay, so you can see there's a search forward, and we want to change it by research forward, regular expression search forward, and here you want the comma. You want to search for comma followed by not space. Okay. Okay, so what you can do is so that's how you do regular expressions. So that square bracket means any character inside, and the first correct symbol means not any of those characters. So this essentially means not space. Okay, comma, not space. Okay, now we remove this line. Okay, prettify the code, eval the region, show the pink window, go back, go to the cursor, go to the new buffer, close it. Do you want to save? No. New buffer, paste. Okay, that's not, let's copy this, copy, select all, paste. Okay, magnify. So replace comma space by comma. Do it. Okay, now let's call our code. Wait, we need, let's say, okay, let's test this way. Okay, A, B, C. Okay, this is code. It should just change the first one, not changing the second one. So let's do it. Do it. Fantastic. Let's try again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now let's put a space here. Okay. Now let's do it. Do it. Fantastic. You see that? That one already has a space, so there's no change. Now what if we call this command again? Do it. Fantastic. Okay, that's it. I think maybe that's it for today. And so delete that. Save? No. Okay, now I want to put this code back into my talk show. So press a key. Press a key. It's back to my talk show page. Show in browser. There it is, a code. Back in Emacs. Color it. Show in browser. Fantastic. Okay, so how long have I been talking today? 40 minutes. Any questions, comments? Were the letters replaced? No, the letters are not replaced because we are searching for, remember, we are searching for comma followed by anything that's not a space. What? Okay, let me try. Maybe you have a point, so let's try it again. Comma, comma. Let's just say comma, comma, comma. Okay, 3 commas. Let's do it. You are correct. This code fucked up. You see, comma, comma, comma now becomes comma, space, comma. That's incorrect. So close that. Modify our code. Okay, so yeah, okay, I was hoping not to get complex. Okay, so instead of using not space, so this will capture anything that's not a space and also replace that. So there are quite a few ways to fix it. So what we want instead is, one way is just like //b. Let's magnify. Okay, so //b. B means boundary. Okay, let's just try it. Run it. I mean, eval the code. New buffer. Comma, comma, comma. Magnify. Call the command. Do it. Fantastic. Okay, let's try again. ABC, comma, comma, space. Okay, let's try that. Let's make a copy. Okay, so we're gonna do it here. Do it. So let's check correctness. Comma, space, correct. Comma, space, correct. Comma, correct. Well, what happens if you have comma, comma? Do you want to add a, no? I mean, okay, so I think this is good. Yeah, so I think this is good. So it does not destroy any characters. Is that true? Yes, that's true. And it changes comma only if it's after a word. That's right. It changes only when the character next comma is a word character. So if it's comma, comma, or comma plus, for example, comma period, in some programming languages you have all kind of weird, or comma equal or something, So let's call it no change. Good. Call it no change. We are getting into trial and error, which is no good. Okay, when you code, you don't want trial and error. You want to think about the problem. Study the language, study the problem. you know exactly what is the problem. You know exactly which function, you master the language, regular expressions and all that. You know exactly what it does. Then you code it, one shot, clean. Not trial and error. Oh, let's try something. What if it's comma followed by a dollar sign? Then it's hell. Then it becomes the unit testing, the agile. Fuck. Okay, no good. Okay, you don't need test. Okay, so I mean, you know, when it's very complex, you need testing, but not for the general coding. Okay, so this is the code. Okay, color it, show in browser. Okay, that's it. I think that's it. 40 minutes today, 46, and let's close down. We got more to do, so we solved this first problem. So if you like my stuff, buy me a drink. Okay, those of you watching in real time or on YouTube, donate, Patreon, PayPal, Amazon gift card. You can find the links on my website, or buy my emacs tutorial, master emacs. Okay, emacs lisp. Learn a little emacs gets you far if you are an emacs user. Or you can buy one of my packages. Now I sell them because they've been open source for like 10 years, 15 years, no pay. Instead, you tech support. Everyone is gonna ask you a question. How do you do that? How do you do that? So okay, that's so. Let's see. So yeah, that's it for today. Okay. So any questions? Have you considered stand-up comedy? Okay, I'm not into comedy that much. Not that I would not suggest to use regex for most of this stuff, but why not kill yourself by trying to learn emacs keys? What does that mean? What? Okay, I don't know what you guys are saying, but let's get back to emacs lisp. Okay, let's not get into something else. So let me demonstrate. I'm gonna close down. Okay, that's it for today. That's the main thing. So there are some more commands I want to write. Let's save it for next week. For next video. So xah highlight Unicode. Convert minute second to seconds or vice versa. So that's another thing we can do. And xah uppercase sentence, I talked about that. Uppercase sentence, for example. For example, you're looking at this line. I press a key. You see now it's uppercase. Okay, undo, redo, undo, redo, magnify, see the full glory, undo, redo. Okay, bye guys. Yeah, bye. So yeah, so let me just clean up my code, shrink. So that's it for today. So that's what we did today. And the next things, save it for next time. Okay. And show in browser. So that's today's code. And I'm going to move this code into xah keys. Okay, bye.